Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mama Bear. I'm Brie.
And I'm Erin.
And today we have a very fun podcast for you.
Yes, we're so excited. Well, I'm so excited because our very own Brie is going to tell us about her birth story. This has been a long time coming, something that we've wanted to do since we started the podcast.
Yes.
But, you know, it takes a little while. It's a very vulnerable thing to do.
Totally.
And she's just been waiting for the right time, and we're going to do it today. So
Yeah, I've no time like the present.
And I have heard some of this birth story. However, I feel like there'll be even things that I'm learning that are new. I heard it very close to when you had actually given birth, and your mind's kind of everywhere at that point. So you're a little clearer now, and I'm excited to hear it.
I think it's like so exciting to share our birth story. It was obviously for everyone, your birth is like such a vulnerable and personable thing. And with it 7 months ago, it feels like almost like a distant memory now.
I can't believe that
so
he's
exciting.
already 7 months. That's wild. And I know my kids are, but it's just watching your friends' kids grow up. Even that goes by quick. Like it's not only on your own. It's even your friends' kids are growing up quick. What made you decide that you wanted to share your birth story?
Number one, I want record of it. I want to be able to look back and remember pieces of it. So Aaron, my husband, and I actually sat down and recorded just something quick as well.
That was so smart.
Like a month after we gave birth or something like that. But that's number one. Number two, I feel like when I was getting ready to give birth, I watched a lot of birth stories on YouTube. So I watched several hours of different people explaining what happened during their birth just so I could be prepared. So my birth obviously I think is amazing, and I hope that other people can watch or listen and hear what we went through, and maybe that can help make decisions or help them know that what they're going through is normal and be prepared for what, a typical timeline might look like.
And everybody's birth story is so unique, and yours is as well. And just getting right into it, I guess. When you're talking about you watched some birth stories to prepare, what other things did you do to prepare for your birth?
Yeah, so I'm very fitness motivated. So that was a big part of my journey, was not giving up that. I tried to move 30 minutes every day. I still tried to lift weights. I kept up any sports I was playing. So I played volleyball, beach volleyball right through until I gave birth, essentially. So I tried to stay really fit. The other thing in prep was I did get her name is the Fit Doula. She's a local trainer who is also a trained doula. So she was able to work with me. My fear was I would go too hard in pregnancy and work out too hard. So she was there with me to make sure I was just scaling appropriate and doing moves that were safe for the baby and whatnot.
And does she stay with you for the birth, or just purely
she did not.
fitness?
Listen, I wanted her. I did ask her. I said, "Hey, are you trained to be at
bedside
the birth?"
doula? Yeah.
So she's not that type of doula. So I guess it's slightly different.
Okay.
So we did have a different doula that she recommended to us, but she just worked with me kind of in prep to keep up my fitness.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing was we signed up for a course. So we did the Mom and Natural birth course. We paid for it online. Aaron listened to the audiobook, and it was like a 10-part course of video that you could sit through at our leisure and listen to, what's a typical labor look like? What's early labor? What are different things that might happen during labor and different things like that. So that's something that we did that helped us prepare.
Okay, great. It's so funny because, again, you and I are so different because you did so many courses and in preparation and listen
just
to podcasts.
Just that one course, really. Oh yeah, I listened to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, and I feel like I did none of that.
Yeah,
I was just this baby's gonna come out of me, and that's gonna be that.
Well, for me, we decided to do a home birth.
Yes.
And so for that, I felt and the other piece is, originally when I was doing the home birth, I wanted everybody here. Everyone I wanted.
Yes,
as soon as I'm in labor, everyone come over, it'll be a party. And the closer we got, the more maybe nervous I got. And when I'm in intense situations, I like to be alone.
Yeah.
So if I'm running a race, I just want to put my head down and run the race and not talk or think, obviously.
And birth is quite an intimate thing, so sometimes
it's a workout. It's a hard work.
And I always say I felt like I ran a marathon.
That's what they compare it to. Yeah. So for me, it was if I'm doing something hard, I can't have a distraction. I find even when I'm trying to concentrate in life, I plug my ears. I can't have outside noise or I can't focus. So that's what I wanted that day. So I wanted to be really, really prepared and me myself have knowledge so that I didn't need to call our birth providers until the final hour, which is what ended up happening. So
you decided to have a home birth, you say?
Yes.
How did you land upon that? What made you decide to have a home birth as opposed to having it at a
Yeah.
hospital, as well as if you had a home birth, you had a midwife?
Yes.
And what made you decide to go with a midwife as opposed to going with an OB?
So funny enough, there's two answers to this. Aaron and I looked at each other very early on in being pregnant, and both just said we'd always hoped for a home birth.
Okay.
So we'd never talked about this prior to getting married, and we just felt so aligned in that moment. Like, yes, we both want the same thing with this. So that was great. The second thing is my sister-in-law is a midwife.
Right.
So it felt very comfortable and natural for us to ask her to deliver our baby. So she's been a practicing midwife for some time, and we just thought it was most natural to have our baby at home, not have to go to the hospital. I'm very afraid of, like, they call it like the Cascade of Interventions. So like once you get one intervention, it opens the door to another. So if you're messing with your hormones and you get Pitocin, it could elevate your contractions to a way where they're like, well, now we need to slow things down and give you an epidural. Oh, the epidural slowed things down too much. Now we have to give you an emergency C-section. Right. So you hear of this so often, and I'm just so scared of, I don't like to be confrontational at all. And I don't know, I'm not very good at standing up for myself in certain situations. And if someone was telling me, we need to do this, I would cave and not like fight to want to do it the natural way. So that was my fear, that I'd be like convinced into doing something I didn't want to do.
Which is so funny that you see yourself that way, because I don't see you that way.
Oh,
I see you as someone who's so confident in what they want and is always like able to stand up for yourself and for others. Like, that's what I see.
Oh, that's a lovely way to look at it. I do think I get scared, like in the pressure of a moment.
In that moment, though,
without time to react,
and
without being
there's
like,
a lot going on and your mind is not clear.
I do fear for that. So that was like a big reason behind wanting to stay home. Just like, this is an intimate moment. My body's made to do this. I have everything in my body to deliver this baby. I don't need any extra help. And let's just turn off the lights and put our heads down and do this just very intimately.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's beautiful. Birth is a beautiful thing. And, that's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
And you're right. Our bodies are made for this.
100%.
They're made to give birth. It's funny talking to you. Maybe funny is not the right word, but it's interesting talking to you about like the interventions and stuff, because I work obstetrics, and
yes,
so I see both sides of it.
Of
and I actually have myself both had a midwife and an OB. So I've experienced both of those things. I did not have a home birth. I did both in the hospital, but I've experienced both those sides of things. So it's really interesting talking to you about your story. So we've talked about how you prepared. We've talked about why you decided to have a home birth. Do you want to get into the actual story of your home birth and how that day played out for you?
For sure. So I think when I open up my notepad, so again, we're very different. I look back and I see like everything I noted, and like labor technically had my first signs of labor like 5 days before the baby was due. So I just wanted to quickly like walk through how I was feeling going into that day.
Yeah, give it to me. Let's hear it.
So often I would hear people say that they were getting like a lot of pressure down low before they gave birth. I really hardly experienced that outside of like 2 days hit or miss in that last week. And it was not consistent. So everyone was like, you're getting close. Do you have pressure low? And I'm like, nope, never. I never had that pressure. So I always felt like I was going to go seriously over, because I had no dropping. I had no pressure low.
Which you did go over.
I did go over 1 week.
1 week, yes.
And I thought I was going to go much more over. And that's why I was in denial most of my labor. I did not feel like I had any signs or symptoms I was going to go into labor. I also took the state of mind of, I'm not going to do anything that is going to rush this labor until I'm like 2 weeks over.
To induce.
So I would not induce. I would not get a balloon. I would not do the stretch and sweep. And I guess it's also important to note, like leading up to labor, Everest was weighing low. They were like, you're in like the very lowest percentile. He is very small.
I will say I'm very questionable on when they say stuff like that, because too many times now in working in that industry, I've seen them say that, and it's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing, and I'm not saying that it's never true, because obviously sometimes it is, and it is wise to, if you're going with an obstetrics or if you're going with a midwife, to listen to your, but also...
Like the fact of the matter is the tests aren't accurate even in today's.
They're not always exactly right.
No,
yes.
and like it even states like it could be within like it's something like within 5 pounds.
Yeah,
it's correct.
Which is a crazy, when you're talking about a baby, a whole baby
something
could be
like
5.
that, right? So it's like, okay, so this is off, and I guess it can show a metric, but like I had an ultrasound 2 days apart, and the baby went from like the first percentile to like the 90th percentile.
Right.
So it's like clearly the testing is not accurate. I'm not going to. And after that first test, they're like, we need to talk about inducing this week.
Right.
And it's like, okay, no, I'm going to go back and get another ultrasound. And clearly 2 days later, the baby was in the 90th percentile. So the amount of people that I fear that hear that first thing and they hear the baby's in and get scared into right away booking an emergency induction, when it's like...
And it's hard to balance, because sometimes it is an emergency and sometimes it's not. So...
I just think you need a second opinion.
Which is, totally fine. Totally fine. It's just, I've also seen the other side of things where I've seen a lot of fetal demise.
Right.
Which is like a hard part of the job when the baby doesn't get out on time.
Yes, and absolutely. And I'm not here to say, I'm just trying to talk about my story.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm just trying to walk through my story.
Absolutely.
And like, so my point being, like, if you go get an ultrasound done and they're telling you your baby's not thriving and you can feel your baby's got a lot of movement, this, maybe just ask for a second opinion.
Absolutely. No harm in asking for a second opinion.
We went and got another ultrasound. The baby was doing fine. But they had thought like maybe the baby was still a bit high, so there was no signs.
And this was after you were due already?
No, yes, this is after I was due.
Okay.
So then I think 5 days before I started feeling a little bit of pressure low, but a lot of baby movement. I started feeling like this little weird twinge on like my pubic bone. That's something that I thought was unique. And then I woke up the 26th, and a totally normal day. I had none of those symptoms. On the 26th, I think I lost a bit of my mucus plug, and that was the very first sort of sign. So this is 4 days before the baby ended up being born.
And for those of you that don't know, the mucus plug is something that you typically lose before pregnancy. However, you can lose it a week, 2 weeks prior to birth, and sometimes you lose it and you give birth that day. So it's just,
it's not a great
really
indicator.
Know. Yeah,
it is a good sign that we're moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
But at that time, I lost part of my mucus plug, and I'm like, could be 10 days.
Yes, exactly.
Could be 2 weeks. Who knows?
Could be tomorrow.
So I'm not in a stress mode at that point. I'm like, fine, continue on with my life. Then I had a little bit of back pain that night. Only real symptom. On the 27th, that's when I had my midwife appointment, and they had booked a non-stress test for the Friday.
Okay.
Because they were trying to push me towards induction. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So they're like, hey, let's do a non-stress test, make sure the baby's still healthy and safe, whatever. We had never got there, luckily. And then on the 27th, I had acupuncture. So I said I wouldn't do any what's it called? Interventions.
Oh, interventions, yeah.
But the acupuncture, I feel like was a more natural way of helping. I definitely didn't want to push to where I was getting a lot of pressure to have, a C-section or like an induction or anything.
You didn't want any like drug interventions.
Right. So I thought, okay, acupuncture is something you can do in day-to-day life anyway. Let's try it. So I did the acupuncture. And then that evening, I actually tested my breast pump for the first time. So 2 kind of safe at-home interventions. And then I went to bed and woke up the next day and was not feeling well at all. I did not get out of bed. So that's the 28th. I did not feel well at all. And in hindsight, this was me starting labor.
Right.
I just laid in bed. Aaron brought me soup to bed. I just was really tired, not feeling well.
What kind of symptoms were you experiencing?
I had a bit of back pain. I just felt kind of sick to my stomach. I wasn't eating much. I was not drinking much.
Like maybe you had the flu or
maybe
a cold of some sort.
Yeah, definitely an upset stomach, like a low version of a flu maybe. And it was just I was off.
Okay.
And it was sucked because I went into labor the next day. So I didn't eat that day and I didn't drink much. So didn't really.
And they do say to make sure you're eating and drinking when you're in labor because you have to keep that energy up. And it's hard to. So then before I went to bed on the 28th, we did the mile circuit. So it's like a 30-minute circuit this is the next thing I did to induce labor.
you're on like hands and knees, their hips shifted back, and your husband or partner or whoever it is, putting a band around your hips and pulling, like leaning with their full body weight back to like shift your hips back. And the idea is like the babies should fall into the right position.
Okay.
So you do that for 10 minutes, and then you immediately go from that position, and it's uncomfortable. Like,
I can imagine.
That's not a comfortable position. Like, it was,
especially at 9 months pregnant.
Totally. And then you go into that position, to the side lying position, where you're like one leg is hiked up over the other. You're propped up with pillows in a certain way. You lay there for 10 minutes. That was fine. And then you have to go straight from that onto the stairs, and you walk sideways up the stairs, like lunging.
And this is you doing this already feeling unwell.
I'm not feeling great. Yeah. And you do that for 10 minutes. And so that, I think, did it, because that night at 2 o'clock, I got up and I was having some contractions. And I was like, okay, like, here we go. Maybe this is it. Aaron, my husband, wasn't sleeping great, so we went outside to watch the stars. And it was like, I just remember that being like a really peaceful moment.
That's really beautiful.
It was beautiful. And Aaron said the baby's coming today. And I was in total denial.
Got goosebumps.
He's like, we're just outside looking. He's like, baby's coming tonight. And I go, okay, like, could still be another long while. But then let me just take a look here. So so that was at 2 o'clock. And then at 4:30, I'd been having the same consistent pain.
Okay.
So that's in the morning. So I'm in bed, and I was just trying to breathe through it. It was like 15 to 20 seconds of like pretty intense pain. And at that point, I'm not in full labor yet. So to me, that is pretty intense pain. Yeah. And it was like in my back and wrapped around the front to my tummy.
So you were having some back labor.
So now I know it's not just the back labor, back pain, it's wrapping. Right. So I'm like, okay, I've heard of this. Labor, this is likely labor. And it went like that until I woke up at 6 a.m. Were you tracking the times in between? Yes. Like, how often were your contractions coming at that point? Every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Every 20, 30 minutes.
So they were still pretty spread out. So it was pretty early labor still.
Totally early labor. And I guess, spoiler alert, but the baby was born exactly 24 hours after this. So this started at 2 a.m., the same pain that I was talking about. And I'd had some like pink tinge in when I went to the washroom.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was thinking that was a bit more maybe of the mucus plug coming out. Most of the pain was in my back, as you had said, having a bit of back labor. But I would rate the pain, even in the moment, very low.
Okay.
Like, I think also because I knew what was to come, I wasn't like rating it in that moment of like, oh, this is pretty painful. It's like, I know it's going to be at a 10 eventually. So I put that at like a 1.
Okay. Oh, like quite low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was I could still talk through them.
Almost like Braxton Hicks, just a little more intense.
Actually, in my notes, I say could be Braxton Hicks.
Right. Okay.
So I was not totally convinced yet. At 6 a.m. when I woke up, I had a lot of mucus. It was very clear. And a light pink. And I was able to sleep through the pain. So we're not going to pause, but Aaron's daughter is just playing in the background, so bear with us.
Please
the noise.
Ignore.
How real is that? So I was able to sleep through the pain, and every 20-ish minutes I would get up and have another one of these contractions.
Okay.
And I went.
And at that point, were they still like a 1, or were they kept becoming more intense?
I honestly would say they stayed a 1 all the way up until like that afternoon.
Okay.
So through the morning, it pretty much was this pain. It was pretty much every 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
At 8:30 a.m., Aaron got out of bed, and I stayed in bed. I don't know why that's important to note, but closer to 11, so 10:43, I got up and just hung out in the bedroom, and I tried to. That now I'm like, okay, I know if you stay in the same position too long, you can stall labor, or it's just not good. So it's good to keep moving. So I set a timer on my phone for every 30 minutes that I would be in a different position, but I also needed to rest. So every 30.
Well, you had been laboring now since the middle, like you've barely slept at this point. You've been laboring since 2 a.m.
Yes. Yeah. And not well the day before.
Right.
So every 30 minutes I would do an activity. So like I would get up and like do the dishes and do something, and then my 30-minute timer would go off, and I'd go sit on the couch and like watch a show or take a shower. You know what I mean? Like I tried to like break it up. Every 30 minutes I was doing something different with rest included. So at 11 o'clock we did that. I got up and started my day. And then, so we actually I bounced on the ball for a bit. We went to the farmer's market. Like, I remember I have a video of me like looking at the corn and like having a contraction, like recording myself. And I'm like, just like, I need to document that I'm like at the farmer's market right now. And I'm like full blown having a contraction, which was pretty cool. And then, so that's kind of my day from like 11 till 2:30. We sat down to watch a show at 2:30 and then we're like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. I need some rest. So at 4:00, I laid down. And at 4:20, a contraction was like so strong that it woke me up.
Oh, so you got 20 minutes of sleep.
20 minutes
nice.
of sleep. And I remember sitting up because I was like, ooh, that's a good one, right? And I sat up. And as I sat up, I felt this like pop in my tummy.
Oh.
And I like explain it like sounds like a rubber band snapping. Like that's how it felt like. And it like, I don't know if I could actually hear it or I just like, it felt like
no,
a pop.
that's a very accurate description.
Yeah.
Like just in comparison to what I know I felt.
Yeah.
That actually like I never thought of that way, but it feels like a rubber band snapping. I don't think that's the actual sound you can hear, but it's the feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what I felt. And then I was like, okay, maybe my water broke, but I was like, I don't know. So I like went to the washroom and did my thing. And as I'm getting up off the toilet, like more water comes out,
Okay.
So I'm like, oh,
this is my waters. Yeah.
my water did break a little bit. And so I go back to the bed and I call Aaron and I'm like, okay, like my water's broken. Like, I think that's my water breaking. And he's like, okay, why don't you lay down and get some more sleep? And as I'm hanging up the phone, it's like, gosh. But like, I make that sound like a lot. It was like 3 little gushes.
Yes. But it's so funny because in TV, they like, it's like this
Everywhere,
huge, you're standing there in your high heels and your pretty dress and all of a sudden it's just
everywhere. Yeah.
And it can happen that way.
It can, yeah.
But typically
not for
yet.
me. So from then on, from like 4:30 on, mine just came out a little bit through the day. So I put a pad on and like, as I'm going about my day, it just would come out a little bit all the way until the baby came. So we got up at this point and we took our photos because I was always taking a weekly photo of my pregnancy. So I'm like, let's go back to the photo spot, get a photo. Like
this might be the last
41
one,
weeks pregnant. And then we called our doula at 5:10.
Okay.
So we call our doula. We're like, hey, my contractions are about 8 minutes apart now ever since my water broke. So every 8 minutes I was having a contraction. It's 5:00 in the evening. But I was like, I'm not in pain. Like, my contractions are still like a 1 to 2. They're more frequent, but I can still walk through them. I'm still in a pleasant mood. I'm still, I can converse. And the way they were talking to me on the phone was they're like, we can tell you're not, like, you've got some time.
Yeah.
And so then this is where my notes end and my memory takes over. So
likely this is where things started to intensify.
To pick up.
You started to intensify and you were unable to write the notes in the phone at this point. Yeah. But I wish that I would say for anyone that is listening to this that is pregnant, do something like this because I wish that I remembered the time leading up to my labor. And I remember snippets here and there, but this is like amazing to have.
Yeah, I actually did a video diary as well. So maybe I can post a reel of that. I would love to share that of us through the day and like our predictions, what we thought was happening, which is really fun. So I'll put that together. But so this was at, that's what I say, 5:10 I called them. And then I remember we went for a walk down the road and I remember getting only like a quarter into the walk and being like, I actually can't do this. Like, I'm actually in just enough uncomfortability that like I'd like to go home, which is like totally not like me.
You. Yeah, you push through usually.
Anything. So I'm like, let's just head back. So we came back and then I got in the shower at 9. I remember that. I got in the shower at 9 and Aaron was like, I'm going to go put the dogs to bed. This was him because he knew labor was happening. Yeah. I was still like, denial. Could still be a couple days. I was totally denial. In hindsight, you read this, obviously things are ramping up. I'm going into labor. But I'm like, no, I guess I just wasn't there. It wasn't like I was like, I'm not in labor. It's just like, I didn't realize I was
mentally there yet. Yeah.
So Aaron went to put the dogs to bed and I don't know what else he was going to do, but I was still in the shower and I remember getting out of the shower kind of in a hurry. And this like 1 hour chunk is a total blur to me. Yeah. I was in so much pain.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I went from like 0 to 100. So
in this shower.
Yeah.
And this is around what time now?
9:30
at night. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point you've been laboring for a day and a half.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Like
started
you started at 2 a.m. the following day.
No, that morning at 2 a.m.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I got up at 6. So it's been like 15, I don't know, what's that time? 2 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever that is.
Okay. A full blown labor.
Yeah. So that's like 17 hours or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Anyway. Gosh, that's going to look dumb. Like it was anyway, math. Yeah. Okay. So it's 9:30 p.m. I'm in the shower. I'm in pain. When Aaron comes back from letting the dogs out, he says he had a different wife. He was just like that 20 minutes that he was gone, everything changed. Mm-hmm. Everything changed. I remember I was just trying to get like showered off. I'm naked, like fully naked.
Yes.
And I was like trying to climb into bed because I was like a little uncomfortable. I couldn't lay down. The pain was too much.
There was nowhere that you could get comfortable.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so I got off the bed and I tried leaning over there. That hurt too much. And then, so like my contractions went from literally a 1 to a 10.
Right.
This was the most
in
pain
that 20 minutes
I'd ever had. Oh, and like it didn't get worse than this. It got easier from this point in my experience.
Okay, so we were talking a bit after, and there was one integral part of her journey that she had left out. I didn't mention it because I didn't know. It is a very vulnerable thing that happened to you. But during that transition, you had a body release, essentially.
Yeah, this is what was like part of like the intensity of like, let's take me to the hospital now was, I all of a sudden, Aaron brought me a Tylenol. He brought me a Tylenol because he wanted to help relieve my pain. I don't ever take medicines. This is a really big deal. So I popped the Tylenol in my mouth, and I had previously just had a bit of smoothie in the shower. I had my smoothie in the shower. It's all coming back to me now.
Right.
And I put the Tylenol in my mouth, and I go to wash it back with water. And as soon as it hits the back of my throat, I projectile vomit everywhere, like 2 or 3 times all over our bedroom. And so this is kind of like aiding to the like take me to the hospital thing. And then directly following, go to the washroom and had like
a bowel release,
like terrible. And I even think I vomited also in the bathroom. Like I think I vomited.
It just was coming out of both ends.
Yeah, coming out of both ends, and like it was a disaster. And, like,
which I did not know is a normal part of, can be a normal part of transitioning. Yeah. This like hasn't happened to myself
Everything
or
empties.
anything that I know, but this is apparently I know, because when you had told me that, I was a little taken aback. I was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
and I did not, even working in the industry, really? I did not know that can be a normal part. I think
your body's just like emptying itself,
it
and
makes
like
sense.
Getting that like canal ready to go, and it was like a devastating moment. So thank you for reminding me. It is important to know. Like you're right.
Well, if someone else experiences this,
it's normal.
Maybe it's good for them to know that like this is normal.
You're probably in transition.
I am not dying.
Yes. But you're so sweet for not asking about it, thinking I was purposely
leaving it out. I thought you were omitting it on purpose, though.
No, just actually blacked that out from my mind.
You're welcome for bringing it back up.
Yeah. So from 9:30 till 10:30, that 1 hour was a 10, to the point where I threw everything out the window. I was like, Aaron, take me to the hospital right now. I can't do this. I thought, I'm not to like make this seem dramatic or like not to be sensitive, but like I thought I was going to die.
And it's not dramatic.
What I learned later was this was transition.
So it's not dramatic though, because in that moment, it is like, and obviously it's different for everybody, but like it is the most amount of pain you've ever been in your entire life. You have no idea what's going on. Yeah. And you're at home. Like for you, you're at home. You have nobody to lean on. Your midwife is not here. Yeah. You have no one that like has been through this. No one that kind of can explain or walk to you. You're like, it's not dramatic.
So what I think, and maybe, this is what I think, is that if I had known in that moment that I had, because like in hindsight, I can say I knew I was laboring all day in this chair now. At the time, I didn't realize. I thought I might have to go through what I was going through. Some people labor like that for a week. Some people have false labor. So I was like, I didn't know that this was go time. I thought labor had just started, at this like 9:30 p.m. And I was now going to be in this pain for 24, 48 hours. So I was like, this is now a 10. I can't mentally manage this amount of pain for that long. No chance. So this is where you're getting at with your birth professionals being there to let you know,
to guide you.
This is the stage you're in. Yes. So anyway, Aaron calls his sister, our midwife. Brie is in a lot of pain. Brie wants to go to the hospital. And Kaylee, being my supportive midwife says, okay, let's get her to the hospital. And
had you talked to her prior to this being like,
don't take me to the hospital?
If I ask in the moment for these interventions and for these things, try to withhold as long as possible until I'm like, do it.
Yeah. Yep. And in that moment, I was like, no one's listening to me. Take me to the hospital. Like, in hindsight, we did not try putting me in the tub. We did not try putting me back in the shower. We did not try any of these measures
that you had planned on previously.
Right. Like, that kind of went out the door in that moment. Like, in hindsight, we should have done anything, but it was just, I was like irritable. I didn't want Aaron to touch me. I was in a lot of pain. I felt like in that moment, I felt like it was more important to him that I did a home birth than taking care of how I felt in that moment.
Right.
In hindsight, I'm so glad he did not listen to me, because again, I thought I was going to be in this pain for a very, very, very long time. I was only in this pain for 1 hour, and I could do anything for 1 hour. I just didn't realize that. It was just transition. It was going to pass. So Aaron calls Kaylee. Brie wants to go to the hospital. Kaylee goes, okay. And Aaron goes, no, Kaylee, come on. Like, come on. Like, don't give her that. So Aaron just goes, okay, I will take you to the hospital, but you have to get dressed, honey. Like, I have to get you in the car.
You cannot go naked.
No.
Yeah.
And I go, well, no, I'm not getting dressed.
No. Are you insane?
Like, in this moment, that sounds like the worst
I'm dying and you want me to get dressed?
Yes. I go, no chance. So I'm like, okay, I'm staying. And I was like really mad about it in the moment. Kaylee comes. I think she must have left right then. She's about 25 minutes away. So Aaron called her at 9. I looked back at his call logs this morning, 9:55 p.m. He called her. So at earliest she could have got here was 10:30, and I'm sure it wasn't quite that early. So somewhere between 10:30 and 11, she shows up. So now I've been in this pain for 1 full hour. When she shows up, I was already starting to feel better. I'd found this position on the ball. So again, I did so much research into what position.
What kind of pain control methods did you look up beforehand?
So I had looked into ways of bouncing on the ball, ways of laying, different hip shifts you can do to help the baby get lower and help progress this. So I guess what I didn't say is right before the shower, I got down into a lunge, like a low sideways, like diagonal lunge that helps the baby kind of navigate that the birth canal in that early stage of labor. So I did that, like quite a few of those, and boom, then this kind of all kicked off. So I was trying all these positions I looked into. Nothing helped.
Mm-hmm. Nothing was relieving that pressure, that pain.
I finally found a position that I'd never seen anyone else do. I'm sure it's out there, but I'd put a ball on the floor. I'm essentially on all fours, but my upper body is draped over the ball, and it was a big ball, so my arms are flowing to the side. I'm on my knees, and I laid there from probably 10:15 till midnight.
And at this point, it's almost like, for lack of a better word, animalistic. Like
totally.
You're just like, you're not even thinking about these are the things I researched. These are the things I've seen. You're just moving with your body and trying to figure out what your body needs in literally any position that you can work out. Like anything that your body can do is open to at this point, because you'll try anything.
I don't want to hear anybody. I don't want to hear any sounds. I just need to focus in and be so present in my mind. So once I got into that position, I took every contraction just as the wave it is. And I know that it peaks for 15 to 20 seconds. And on either side of it, it's intense, but it waves. So it gets worse, and it stays at its peak for the 10, 15 seconds, and it comes back down. And I know that it's going to go away.
So you've figured them out at this point.
So I know that. But I was having double peaks sometimes. So it would come up, get hard for 10, 15 seconds, and then start coming down slightly, but then go back up. So I was having these double peaks. That's how I explain it.
Yeah. So in the hospital, they explain these to me as, what did they say? I forget what they called them, but they were like earthquakes, but they never went back down, right?
It stayed up.
Yes.
And it would happen.
I experienced these too.
Yeah. So I hit a point where I was no longer just having a single peak. It was always the double peak and then back down. So it was more like a 2-minute contraction with 2 peaks. And so I was like, okay, 2 minutes. You need to do that every minute. You know what I mean? So my contractions were 2 minutes apart. So it went from the 20 minutes all day to the 8 minutes after my water broke to now my contractions are 60 to 90 seconds apart.
And they're lasting quite a while.
Yeah, they're lasting. And they were lasting about a minute.
Right.
Yeah. And so it was go time.
There's not a lot of break in there in between for you to...
there's no break.
Figure yourself out.
No.
Yeah.
And so when Kaylee showed up at, say, call it 10:30, she checked me. And this was something I did not want to do a lot of. And I only ended up having the one, possibly a second check before I pushed. But I did not want a lot of check because to me, that doesn't mean so much. You can be 8 centimeters and ready to push in 5 minutes, or you can be 8 centimeters and several hours away. So
I think that the checks are mostly just like a mental thing for us to be like, is this happening? Is this progressing?
But the fear is you get a check, you haven't progressed. So like that could also mentally negatively affect you. So I really, again, same with not wanting to have people in the room. I didn't want too much information. I just wanted to feel my body, like you said, just animalistic, like put my head down and just like, how do I feel? Just stay in check with myself the whole time. That's all you got. That's really all you got. So, what was I just saying?
So
she checked me.
Yeah.
I was 8 centimeters. And so she's like, that was your transition. Like you just did that hardest part. Like I was 8 or 9 centimeters, she said. So I would already gone through that 7 to 8, which is like that really, really, really painful part. And so I was thinking I was going to be like a couple centimeters, like I said, and I have days left.
Yeah.
Or like several hours. I thought I was going to be that person that called too early and they showed up and they're like, you still have it. Because every woman that goes in believes they're in labor.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have a false call. I really wanted to pride myself on it. So thank goodness that she wasn't like, you still have a long time to deal with this pain. Bye.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine how defeating and devastating that must feel. So luckily she was with me. And she's like, yeah, like you're going to have the baby tonight, pretty much. Like by morning, you have a baby. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's go time. Now I know I'm in labor. Now I know I've gone through transition. Like I can do this. Like that was the hardest part. And it got so much easier. Maybe just having that information, but also the pain kind of subsided and I found my position. I didn't get out of that position for, like I said, till midnight. Around that point, they had decided, so I was over the ball. I was contracting. My midwife is there. My second midwife is there. And my doula is now there.
And your husband.
And my husband.
So we have 4 others in the room with you.
And they decided...
sorry, 3. 3 in you.
3 in me.
Your midwife?
No, 4.
Oh, you have 2 midwives.
2 midwives, doula, husband.
I can count.
So they decide, let's get Brie in the tub. But prior to getting the tub, I actually felt the urge to push. And maybe I didn't explain this to anyone, but I felt the urge once or twice.
Okay.
And I did kind of bear down. But then they were like, you know what? Let's get you in the tub. So we did. Around midnight, I got in the tub and amazing. My pain almost literally went away.
Like it was just your bathtub that you have here? Or was it the birthing tub?
A birthing tub.
The birthing tub. Okay.
So my husband...
That was in your living room for about 2 months.
Yes. That your kids played in.
My kids played in, yeah.
So
clean.
Totally. Yeah, it's fine. We had the liner, everything. It was fine. So I get in the tub. I was only in the tub for about 20 minutes because my contractions completely went away.
Oh, amazing.
I maybe had a couple, but they were very light. I was talking. I was laughing. I finally opened my eyes so I could see who was in the room.
You were like a little bit clear in your mind.
I was totally more clear. I was like, whoa, we're doing this. We're having a baby. This is great.
Fun.
So like I think there's photos and videos. I'm talking now. Like now I come a little bit more too because the 2 hours prior, you notice I don't have much information. I was just over that and took it minute by minute.
Yeah.
For like, what did I say? 10:30 till midnight.
12 o'clock, yeah.
So it was literally minute by minute in that space. And now I'm in the tub. I'm feeling great. Opened my eyes. My husband lit the candles I asked him to light. The lights were all off. My birth affirmations were everywhere.
So the birth plan that you had laid out, it was going the way you want. You just weren't present for it for a lot of the time. Yeah. Mentally present. Yeah.
I did print out, I custom made my own birth affirmation cards and I did not glance at those even once. So that's okay.
And that's just
part of it.
That's part of it. Yeah. Going into it, like the way that you lay out a birth plan is not going to be exactly how it goes, but
that's okay.
That's just part of it. You can still lay it out. It helps you feel prepared.
That's right. And so I'm in the tub. They decide to get me out of the tub because labor is stalled to a dead halt, essentially. They get me out and they're like, we want you to sit on the tub, which is like the dilation station. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I've heard of this.
Sit on the tub?
Sit on the toilet, sorry.
On the toilet, okay.
Yeah, sit on the tub.
I was like...
So I go sit on the toilet and I've heard this so many times from all the podcasts I listen to, like sit there and try to wait out X amount of contractions. So my doula...
And like the gravity is like...
And you're like spread, so it's supposed to help it down. And they said 7 contractions they wanted me to do or something like that. I couldn't even do one. I'm sitting there.
Oh, they're that bad. They went from so good in the tub to all of a sudden so intense
painful,
again.
So intense. But like if I stood up, they weren't as bad. They were like a 3 out of 10 when I stood. But when they wanted me on that toilet, it was so painful. But I get it. It's supposed to, like, that's the baby coming down. You have to go through that pain. You have to. And so I just physically couldn't do it. Now, at this point is where the story gets a little bit more sensitive in the fact that not everything went exactly how we wanted it to go. So now it's like 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. There's a photo of me at like 12:53 standing in the bathroom. So I know this is about 1 a.m. The Everest was born at 2 and I had an hour of pushing. So for the next hour, I'm kind of off and on the toilet in different positions, getting ready. At 1 o'clock-ish, we start pushing.
Where were you laying at this point?
So they got me on the bed.
You're laying on your bed.
I would have said all the way up until labor, I don't want to be laying on the bed. I've heard so many terrible things about laying on the bed. My midwife sort of disagrees. In her experience, the bed is a really good position where she can help coach through. She can see what pushes you're doing
and what's going on
are helping and what pushes just aren't great. So she's able to coach you in that sense. I didn't really want that prior to labor because, again, I wanted to stay very internal, very by myself. But because contractions had slowed so much, I honestly was saying I wasn't really having contractions at this point. So they wanted me up on the bed, begrudgingly sort of, but like taking their lead. I did get up on the bed and I was on my back. And then we went from like side lying to trying on the knees to side lying to back. Like we tried a bunch of different things, all somewhat helping.
And you're like essentially probably fully dilated at this point because you're pushing.
Yeah. Fully dilated, but not really having contractions.
Right.
So like I'm in next to no pain.
Right.
I'm feeling really conversational. I'm feeling
minus
fine.
the times when you're sitting on the toilet.
The pain, that was awful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as soon as you got off the toilet at that one try, of sitting on, the pain went away again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was back down to like a 3 pain wise, like very compared to the 10. I'm like I'm coasting, like I'm fine. I could do this. But then I was kind of confused because like they wanted me to push during contractions, but I wasn't obvious to me when I was having a contraction. Okay. So they put the breast pump on me to try to like simulate to get that going again. And then from here, it's not really, maybe I'm missing a lot of detail, but I literally just pushed for the hour.
In different positions.
And again, this was not painful. This is not difficult, a little bit tiring. I got out of breath. I pushed Everest out at 2:20.
The actual pushing out, like when he was physically coming out of your body, not painful.
I didn't find that overly painful. Okay. Like it was uncomfortable and confusing because I would push. But like he's right there. His head came out went back in.
Yeah, it's like I always say, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forwards, and it can be very discouraging. Like sometimes they people get a mirror and to watch, and it can either be very encouraging or very discouraging because you can see the head coming out and then it pops right back in.
Yeah, I would like a mirror next time, I think, or like to be standing next time. But in this one, they like on my very first push, they were like, he is right there. That was such a good push, Brie. And maybe they were being my biggest cheerleaders and just trying to like give me some little bit of false hope sort of thing. But they all stand by it to this day. Like those first pushes were incredible, but I stayed there for the next 45 minutes or whatever. So my pushes never really got much more traction. He just out and in for the hour.
At one point, I think I remember you telling me at one point was he decelling or?
So that was where the concern came in. Yeah, good point. So at some point in this hour, really at the beginning of it, they were keeping track of his heart rate and mine. And when after a contraction, his heart rate would drop and they were getting really scared that it was dropping too low. Right. I know that's pretty standard. A lot of babies go through this. But in this case, I guess it was happening more than they would like or too low.
Or it wasn't rising back up quickly. Like there can be so many different.
Yeah, they weren't happy with it.
Right.
We're going to have Kaylee on in a few weeks, hopefully, and she can maybe break down this part a little bit more because it's still a little bit confusing to me. Either way, like we had full faith and trust in Kaylee and her team did an incredible job. We were very happy with how it went. But they decided, this is a home birth. we're going to call the paramedics.
Just to be on standby.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they came, they hung out in our living room, and I joke, these guys must just do stuff like this so often because they were not totally
They were not
sensitive.
reading. They were not reading the room.
They did not read the room. This is very private home birth.
This is a very intimate moment for me.
I, as we said, only had 3 or 4 people in the room, all whom I know. Like my midwife is my sister-in-law. The midwife assistant is Aaron's aunt. So like my aunt-in-law.
Yeah.
And the doula we've become very close with. So it's just my husband and our family essentially.
Yes.
And then these 2 men come barreling in, and the lights are off, the candles are lit. I'm literally in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm laboring. I'm naked.
Yeah.
And I'm pushing through this contraction, and they walk into my bedroom fully, and they're like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And Aaron's aunt turns and goes, whatever his name is, "Hey Johnny, how's your wife doing? How's the kids?" I'm like, stop.
You're like,
it.
"Hi, busy."
Yeah, I go, kind of in the middle of something. Kind of the biggest day of my life. And so they sit there, they're chatting for a quick second. I wanted to say, I don't know if I did. I don't think I did, but I wanted to be like, maybe take this offline.
Not to disturb you, but
Like, can you close the door? I don't care if you want to chat, but go in the living room.
Right.
So I guess they did. They went in the living room. They stayed until the baby was born. But like I didn't see or hear from them again.
They had no intervention, no part in it. Yeah.
Nope. When pushing got so long, we'd been pushing for so long, Everest's head was in and out for so long, the fear became, was he in distress?
And the oxygen levels, right?
All these things. So they did decide to do an episiotomy. So this is something that like is still to this day like a little, like everyone has their wounds, I guess, with their birth. Like we said, it's such a vulnerable, sensitive thing. And this for me just felt like incredibly invasive that I had this done. It was so sad for me
because
to
you
have
wanted
this
everything
done.
to be completely natural.
Totally
nothing,
natural.
No intervention of any
Yeah.
kind.
And I was just more defeated too and sad. And I know this, you're going to tell me not to feel this way, but like, I felt like I didn't do a good enough job.
Right.
Why did my body not like open properly or tear properly or whatnot?
And at one point it's just anatomy, right?
And that's what Kaylee said. And she said,
has nothing to do. And I know you'll feel how you feel and it's valid, but at some point it is just how your body's made.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can really do about
Kaylee
it.
had said like, and not to say like I'm some incredible athlete or anything, but like I'm a lifelong athlete and I work out a lot. So she said sometimes your muscle and your pelvic floor gets so strong it's not willing to move as easy. And so she said she's seen this before, and
which is amazing. You probably don't pee yourself now when you do trampoline like some of us.
But it is a little disheartening to know that like if I have another baby, will the same thing happen, or are there things I can do to prevent that?
I mean, there is things like perineum massage and stuff. I don't know if that stretches anything
we'll have to look
out
into
or
that.
if that, but that's something to now
look
that you
into.
know this was a hurdle in this birth, maybe that's something you can.
And I can honestly say it was the most painful part. Like
was the episiotomy.
Yeah. I can't say there was worse than transition, but it was right up there. Like, and it definitely hurt way more than pushing. And maybe it's because that would be the pain you'd have with the ring of fire anyway.
Right.
Like when people tear naturally and they're pushing through, maybe that's that pain anyway. And I just had it in the form of a cut. Mm-hmm. But it was quite a bad cut. Like I had to get a dozen or so stitches.
And she didn't use any like
pain. Pain? No.
Like she didn't freeze at all when she.
She may have, but I don't remember. I don't think she did.
Like
no, I did not have that.
And it would be right in the area. Like it'd be local.
I had that when she stitched me up after. Yeah. She did give me a local anesthetic.
It's usually like xylocaine, lidocaine. Yeah.
So I did not have that during the birth, but afterwards she did do it, and that was very painful. But pushing him out, not painful. The cut, painful. Push him out, not painful. Most incredible moment of our life. Our son was just born, and Kaylee got to catch him. So she had like one arm down there, and Aaron like reached around, and he got to catch like the rest of his body, and just like it's a bit emotional. Like
of course, yeah.
You get like a flood of emotions after.
It's like the most like amazing thing.
Yeah.
That anyone could. Why didn't we bring Kleenex?
It's just like you get to this point of like you just want your baby to be healthy and outside of like everything, all these things that you think about going into it, you're just like, how is he doing? And he comes out and he's perfect. He's screaming and screaming, crying. So you know right away he's breathing, and that's great. And they lay him down, and we don't know if it's a boy or girl.
Right.
So they lay him on my chest straight away. He's right here, and he's so little, and I can like hardly see him. He's right here. and you're just looking at this like perfectly pinkish, perfectly colored baby, and he's covered in blood and he's screaming at the top of your lungs, and you're never happier to see him. And my husband's right next to me, and the cord is still attached. I still have to deliver the placenta, but it's just like such a moment of like bliss. And
I don't think there's like anything to compare it to. That moment of meeting your baby, like I could do over and over and over. Yeah. Like it's just like you carry this baby, and you like, and like being the mother, like being the father, I'm sure it's incredible because at that point,
finally meet him.
You finally get to meet him, and it's a little bit more real for you. But being the mother, like you hold this thing inside of you for 9 months, and then
you bond with him, you feel him.
You already know that, like it.
You know that
it's indescribable. Yeah. It really is.
And you finally get to see this thing you've been thinking
that
about.
You've made with your own body. Like you've made this.
Yeah, it's so special.
It's wild.
And then seeing him there, and just like you feel so proud of yourself, and you feel proud of your baby for sticking in there and doing so good. And then Aaron, I think the midwife said, "What is it? Like, what's the gender?"
And you're like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, I totally forgot, because at that point it didn't matter.
It's healthy.
Yes,
it's here. Yeah, yes. We did this.
So Aaron looks down, and I think I did. I don't remember which one of us said it, but he says, "Oh yeah, it's a boy," and everyone cheers. We're all happy, and I get to hold him. And so honestly, I did not breastfeed right away. I wanted to. I was dying to. I couldn't wait. He just laying on my chest, and then I delivered the placenta. We kept the placenta attached for 2 hours until it was empty of blood. The cord wasn't pulsing. Like Everest had gotten all that blood in him. And
then did Aaron cut the cord?
So then Aaron did cut the cord. Yep. And then I pushed out the placenta. Oh, sorry. I did push the placenta, which was fine. Like it just felt like a big thud. Yeah. Like kind of much less.
It's just like, it's like a jellyfish.
It like flops out of you. Yeah.
It is kind of like.
And then she kind of gave it a tug. Oh, that was not nice.
No.
But what was even worse was the fundal pressure.
Yeah.
They push on your belly to like get the fluid out.
And to try to like get everything to contract back down to size. So Nora thinks that's hilarious.
It was kind of funny. My reaction was, and I hated that. And you have to get so many more of them done than you realize. They push and push, and it's painful. That's not nice.
And what some people don't know, which I know I didn't, is when you breastfeed, you contract, which is quite painful.
And that happens for the first couple weeks. Yes.
Yeah. And it's, I did not know that. Nobody warned me of that. Yeah. So if you're pregnant again, a lot of the time, I mean, I think all the time, I don't know, but when you breastfeed after having a baby, it causes your uterus to contract back down to size, and it causes bleeding, and it is quite painful.
It's not comfortable.
No.
Honestly, there was a point, because it happened for me the first 2 weeks or so, and then like a couple months later even.
I'm just doing the podcast.
We're very close.
Okay, go play. Don't touch that. Almost done, okay?
I even had it happen like a couple months post-birth, where again I got the contractions while I was breastfeeding, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot what that. It almost gives you like the quick reminder of what the labor contractions.
Little PTSD. Yeah, I know. I remember. I totally. It's almost like you black it all out.
You do.
So like you don't. You talk about how painful it was, but you don't actually remember how painful it was. And then
with
when I had
my big injury,
with anything, with any trauma at all.
Yeah.
And then when I had my second daughter, and I had birthed her, and I went to breastfeed her, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not fun.
Yeah, actually, I forgot about that until right now. You bringing it up.
Yeah.
So that was awful. Feeling that for the first time, but like you're just like on a high. Nothing could have brought me down.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
These things are all happening, and like that's why moms are actually superheroes, because so much of this is not talked about, and like I'm leaving out a ton of details. Obviously, so much else is going on. Someone's always touching you. Someone's doing some test on you. But now at this point,
it's incredibly overstimulating while you're trying to birth a human into this world.
So at that 2 hour point, I think at that point they had like weighed Everest. They had. I can't remember. They had done a bunch of stuff in the room.
Had you named him already?
Yes. We announced his name was Everest.
You had a name picked out already.
We knew it was going to be A or B for boy or girl.
Okay.
So we knew he was Everest Dean. Everest, we named him after Mount Everest, like the tall.
Because he's going to be
mountain.
so tall.
And like an adventure. We hope he's like unique and lives life large and loves to snowboard. And
love it.
Yes. And be very outdoorsy. So... and then Dean after my dad.
And you wanted him to have the same initials as Emerson, obviously. because our lives are parallel.
Yeah, obviously. Yes. And you.
I actually gave someone your address for my address the other day.
Stop it.
I'm not kidding.
They're very similar.
Like your number and my street name.
Okay.
Anyways,
I got to tell you something about that offline.
Okay.
So then what they did for me is, so they did all their like paperwork. So the midwives are kind of gone a little bit. They leave the room. They give you some privacy for me.
So it's just you and Aaron.
Just me and Aaron. They came back. They helped me shower up. Again, they're very apparently they do this for everyone, but they took me in the shower. They cleaned me up, got me washed up, into bed. And now you have to put your sweet son down and lay him. So I breastfed. It came supernatural. He fed great. That's all come supernatural to us. But one thing I did want to mention is, again, I know there's varying ways of giving birth and doing these things, but we did decide to go the all natural route. So we had no drugs in our system. So my milk came in that morning. Like I woke up with full milk,
breast,
no colostrum. I do have to mention also, I had my colostrum in at 20 weeks. So also not surprised I had my milk that next morning. And so I was able to feed Everest immediately right away. He never dropped in weight. So he was always able to sustain his birth weight. So we did not have to wake him every 3 to 5 hours. And so Everest from the hop was like sleeping 5-6 hours straight through the night.
Crazy.
Which was amazing. And now still to this day, he sleeps from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m., which is amazing.
Amazing.
So we have gotten very, very, very lucky in that. And I mean, call me crazy or whatever, we'll have to see with the second kid, but like I do attribute a lot of that to the fact that I had no drugs in my system. Everest did not have any drugs in his system. We weren't induced. He was not touched. It was just the way life was meant to happen. And for me, that's what I'm sticking to. So, but then the other piece was they left us.
And then now you have this human that you have to care for and keep alive.
Yeah. And put clothes on him.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't have an outfit for him. You'd say
like
I did all this.
Outfit.
I didn't have anything. Everyone's
maybe because a lot of people like have more like we're leaving the hospital, so our baby has to be in an outfit. You're thinking we're going to be at home.
I didn't even cross my mind.
You're not like to me it was an outfit they'll come home in.
Yes,
but obviously for you it's at home. So
I didn't think about it. I was just like, he'll wear one of the outfits, like obviously, but I also didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl. And this is normally something I would totally.
I was actually quite shocked when you told me that you weren't finding out the gender because you're such a planner.
Oh, for me, I'm shocked that I didn't have an outfit for a boy and an outfit for a girl.
Or that,
like,
yes.
That I wasn't like ready, but I'm just kind of cheap. I'm just like,
you are not.
I'm a little bit cheap. I'm like, I don't want to buy an outfit that's not going to be worn.
You could have returned it. I would not call cheap is not a word I would ever use
I'm a little bit
to describe you ever.
I'm frugal. I can be frugal for sure. But anyway, so then we had to learn how to swaddle him and lay him down. And we did not have any of the nursery things in the room. So we did not have the bassinet. We did not have the change pad. We did not have the diapers. We did not have the rocking chair. So at 6 a.m, my husband is moving all of this into our room so that we can have the baby set up. Wild. I know we've talked about that before.
All like accessible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. We're almost done. Okay. Okay, so you've birthed Everest. You've, gotten him dressed in his first outfit. You found one, I assume. You chose one. It was something. I still have my kids. I have them cute. In my drawer. I don't know what to do with them. I'm very attached to them.
You can get the mama sweaters.
I know. I've thought about that, but then I get sad because they get cut up, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with them yet. I'll decide.
Yeah.
But how was that first moment? I always remember my first moment because they're like, okay, your baby's born, your body has been through like just so much, like you should rest now, your baby's I couldn't rest.
No,
like
it's not
I'm
happening.
like, you're just staring at this baby. Like, how did you feel in that moment? You're like,
I just lay him down and go back to bed.
Right.
Okay. So this is where I'm a little bit not like that. Not as, I'm pretty sentimental, but not quite.
I'm very, very emotional.
And like, I always thought I was too. I did not have too much of a problem. Like, I definitely would get up and check on him often, but we laid him down in the bassinet right next to me and I went to bed.
Oh gosh. That first night I laid, Walter was on a couch. I was in my hospital bed. She was in a bassinet beside me and I just I just sat there and stared at her for hours.
I did do that. Like, you have to remember, I gave birth at 2, so it wasn't until 4:30 that I even showered. So I was with him for 2 hours, then I got showered up. It wasn't until 6 that we went to bed.
Yeah.
So I'd had 4 hours that I was with him very intimately, and then I only slept from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m.
Right.
So I say I went to bed.
You went for a couple hours.
I went to
rest.
I had a 2-hour nap, and I hadn't slept in 2 days.
Right.
So it was not very hard to fall asleep in that sense. But yes, no. When people say nap when the baby is napping.
Wild.
No.
Wild thing to say. At first it's, you want to make sure they're okay. You're constantly
don't know what you're
checking
doing
on them. You don't know. And then it's, some babies don't sleep well.
No, typically you're holding your baby for
Typically
naps.
you're holding them. And then it's, once they get a little older, it's, well, I need to do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, there's so much else.
Nap when the baby naps is a ridiculous term.
And like the big thing for me too is we gave birth at home. So it wasn't like there was a small hospital room that only so many people could come visit you at once. We had our whole home. So we had
so how
people
was that?
over all the time, which I would not actually change this for the world. I loved it. I just think there needs to be a little bit more of a disclaimer of like when you're coming into someone's home who's just given birth, like stay quiet, keep the lights off. Like
let's keep things low stim.
Yeah. Like, we had very kindly people come over and cook us meals. No, like
send meals,
drop off a meal,
because
or if you want to enjoy it with us, if that's really important to you, which we don't mind that honestly, in some cases, bring it prepared. Like I don't want you cooking in my kitchen,
causing a mess, causing noise.
And then, so that did happen.
I think I guess everyone's different, but and I know you are a little more extroverted in that way than I am, whereas I'm like, drop food at the door. I'll talk to you another time. But
like, as soon as the baby was born, like we got to call our parents immediately. Like, let's tell them. And then in the morning, like we woke up at 8. I was like, let's invite them over. And Aaron's like, let's go back to bed. And I'm like, no, like I want them to be here right away. And so like. So Everest was born at 2, and by like 10 a.m. that next morning, we had guests.
Right.
And
I remember getting that. As soon as I saw your name on my phone, because I live a little far, as soon as I saw your name on my phone, I was like, she had that baby.
I know.
She had the baby.
And like, listen, I think back to like, I was supposed to call my mom. My mom was going to be here for the labor, and I was supposed to call you. Those were 2 calls because you were going to take photos. My mom was just going to be here. And like you heard the story. There was no time.
You just like
it was not even on my mind.
No,
I didn't realize I wasn't doing it because I didn't think of it.
Because you're not wanting to call too early, as people are just hanging out at your house, and then like by that point it's like okay, it's happening now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you regret or would change next time, other than the episiotomy part of it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would like to have either my midwife or my doula here earlier.
Okay.
Especially now I have a son. So I would like someone here earlier just to help with like the stages of labor. Like here's where you're at.
Can I sign up to watch Everest? Is there a sign up sheet for that?
I have a lot of people to fight with you on that one, but sure, you can be on the sign up list. But no, I do. That's the other thing is I do want photos. I desperately want either to set up like cameras or video it ourselves, or like have a photographer come, because that is very important to me. And have someone there earlier. Those are two really big things. Mm-hmm. And also meal prep a little bit more.
Yeah.
I did a bit of meal prep, but I think you should have 2 to 3 months worth of like frozen meals.
And I set up a meal train. I don't know how much you got out of that, but it's hard because.
And I think things like that almost need to be like spoken about in advance.
Yeah.
So I don't really belong to like a huge community. So I'm not
it's
a member.
Easier when there's like a church
that sets this up for you, and like all 30 people that sign up to do it.
Yeah.
I don't really,
and I don't have like the access to everybody's phone number, so I was kind of relying on people. Like I was like, "Here's the meal train, please send it to other people that I don't know."
It was such a sweet idea, and like to be honest, we did have a fair number of people come by and drop off meals, which was so supportive and so helpful. When you gave birth, had baby. I didn't bring any food. I probably was the worst guest.
But you hadn't had a baby.
I didn't know.
You hadn't.
And we've talked get out of my house.
No. We've talked about this so many times where you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Like I have a friend who we'll have on here who has had kids much before me, and I was not there for her in the way that I would have wanted someone to be there.
And now
for
my
me.
sister-in-law is having her first baby in a month or 2 from now, and I'm think of it every day. I'm like, what can I do
be there for her
in those days following that? Either I felt like I didn't have, or that I really appreciated. So I'm already like, all right, let's meal prep something now, so that as soon as that baby's born, like whenever she's ready, I can bring this casserole or whatever it's going to be over. And just things that are easy and nutritious and full of protein and healthy fats.
And I think a big thing is that when you go over to someone's house, yes, you want to see the baby, but ask if there's anything. don't take that baby from that mom if she doesn't. Like, don't come over and hold the baby for 2 hours while she's hosting you.
Right.
Because that is just the worst thing you can do. And I can't say that anyone asked me to do that. Like, I was pretty like strong I'm strong-willed, right? So I sat my butt down and said, if you want to come over and visit me, you come over, but it is what the atmosphere, it is what it is. I'm not providing snacks. I'm not providing drinks. No one expected that of me. Everyone came, saw the baby. Everyone was very respectful of me. Yeah. I hope you had the same experience. I know that you maybe had some visitors that were a little...
Yeah.
But that's going to happen.
It's part of that.
Just if I can say, if you're going to visit a friend who has had a baby, try to be mindful of those things.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, that's something that was eye-opening to me too, because I would have said, I don't care about that beforehand. Right. I would have been like, everyone come over. But now I'm like, no, those first few days, I just want to like lay low. Parents still come over. Yeah. But like, can you do the dishes while you're here?
Yes.
And like, can you like support me?
See, people think holding the baby is what's helpful, but like, in those first days, like moving. I want that the baby is what I want. Right. I want the other things to be helped with.
Can you walk the dog?
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Because like Aaron ended up walking the dog and doing those things, but then he's taken away from this private moment. I understand those are our responsibilities; those are things that we need to do. But those are ways you can help.
Yeah, if you're willing to and able to, just some ideas.
Yeah. So outside that, no, I had the home birth of my dreams.
Amazing.
And I really wouldn't change much other than having some more help a little bit earlier.
Right. Yeah. Well, it sounds amazing. Yeah. And now he's 7 months old. Crazy. And I actually can't believe that. Yeah. And this is really vulnerable. Yeah. So thank you for sharing it with us because it's really hard to do. And like we said, every story is so unique and so special. Yeah. And your next one will be even, just as unique and just as special. Just as special. Yeah. I mean, universe willing that you get to have another baby. Yeah.
No, thanks for chatting with me. And I hope, this just opens up a conversation to see the way we did it. And, maybe it helps people see like the phases of labor and how it went for us. And when they're in the moment, they know that, it's all normal. It's all good.
I know. And, they'll probably forget everything we said once they're in the moment.
That's normal too. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time. Bye.